explain why some services that are offered at Huduma Center headquarters are not available at Holla Huduma Center in Tana River County, and indicate the criteria used to determine the service charter in each center. B, what measures has the government taken to ensure equal access to essential services in all Huduma centers across the country? C, are there plans to renovate Holla Huduma Center in Tana River County, which is in dilapidated state, as well as upgraded services? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to respond to the questions raised by the Senator for Tana River, the Honorable Danson Mugatana. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to appear and respond to plenary questions before the Senate. The Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development appreciates the role played by the Senate in inviting cabinet secretaries to respond to various questions raised by the honorable senators. Honorable Speaker, with that, allow me to respond to the questions. Mr. Speaker, Huduma Kenya manages and operates one-stop shop platforms where ministries, departments, agencies, and counties are required to provide services for citizens' access and convenience. The Huduma Kenya service delivery model for Huduma centers is standardized to ensure uniform customer experience and seamless service provisions. Huduma Kenya Secretariat, the headquarters, manages the day-to-day operations of the one-stop shop platforms, and the following Huduma Kenya one-stop shop platforms are operational: 57 Huduma centers with at least one Huduma center in each county, with the exception of Nairobi, which has 5, Tharaka Nithi, which has 4, Kiambu, Kajiado, and Laikipia, with 2 each Huduma centers. This Huduma Mashinani Outreach, this is a program that provides services to remote areas and targets citizens at the grassroots level. So, Speaker, that service is usually on arrangement and it's mobile. There is also the government-owned Huduma Contact and Tele-Counseling Center, which is a universal information desk that provides whole-of-government customer service support for digital services. And this is through first and second level escalation for all complaints, inquiries, and updates via telephone short code 1919 and social media. There is also the Huduma electronic and mobile platform, which provides whole-of-government information to citizens through the Huduma website, www.hudumakenya.gok, and the USSD code 191 star 191 star 9 hash. In the financial year 23-24, the Huduma Center Holla served a total of 25,519 customers. Mr. Speaker, Huduma Center Holla in Tana River County has an array of 62 physical and over 17,000 online services from various ministries, departments, and agencies services. There is, next, Mr. Speaker, a full service charter for Huduma Center for Tana River in Holla. The over 17,000 online services are available via Huduma Cyber Cafe inside the Huduma Center in Holla, Tana River County. However, notably, the following physical services are not available at the Huduma Center, Tana River, Holla. One being the Uwezo Fund, the Youth Enterprise Fund, Development Fund, the Commission on Administrative Justice Services, and the NTSA services, and some services from the Ministry of Health and the county government services. The Speaker, Huduma Kenya has taken measures should be low to facilitate the deployment of the above-mentioned services that are yet to be physically deployed at the Tana River, Holla Huduma Center. With regard to the Uwezo Fund, the service and deployed services to 35 Huduma centers throughout the public service internship program, but the interns from Tana River County did not apply. With regard to the Youth Enterprise Fund, Mr. Speaker, this is available through the Cyber Cafe, which is at the Holla Center, as well as services to do with the Commission on Administrative Justice, popularly known as the Ombudsman. The services from the National Transport Safety Authority, NTSA, are partially available through the Cyber Cafe, but deployment of the biometric kit is yet to be done. Mr. Speaker, there is also the deployment of Huduma Services Center criteria as sought by the Honorable Senator Mungatana. Mr. Speaker, in response thereto, Huduma Kenya writes to ministries, departments, agencies, and counties, and the county government to deploy services in the Huduma Center service delivery platforms, but it has been observed that some MDAs and counties face challenges in deploying their services due to staffing limitations. Additionally, Huduma Kenya makes courtesy calls to ministries, departments, agencies, and counties intending to partner with them in the deployment or support of Huduma centers. For instance, in the financial year 23-24, Huduma Kenya paid courtesy calls to the Coast Region governors and wrote to the Tana River County Secretary requesting the Tana River County government to deploy services in the Tana River Huduma Center, but they are yet to respond. The service deployment is the prerogative of the ministry, department, agency, and the county government, as much as Huduma Kenya may request them to facilitate the deployment process. And Mr. Speaker, I have next examples of the letters that Huduma Kenya has written to those various groups, the ministries, and the Coast Region, as well as the Secretary to the Tana River County Service Board. The next question, Mr. Speaker, is that is to regard to the measures that the government has taken to ensure equal access to essential services in all Huduma centers across the country. The Speaker, Huduma Kenya normally signs service level agreements with the target ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as counties, to ensure they prioritize the deployment of adequate staff across all the Huduma centers. Mr. Speaker, to ensure adherence to service turnaround timelines so that the time taken by each citizen in accessing services at the Huduma centers is nearly the equal. The Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service, my predecessor, the Honorable Moses Kuria, issued a circular to ministries, departments, and agencies emphasizing the importance of adhering to service turnaround times, and instructed all MDAs to execute service level agreements with Huduma Kenya on the 26th of March this year. The Speaker, further, the Prime Cabinet Secretary did write to all the MDAs again on the 22nd of April this year, urging them to utilize the Huduma universal staff to ensure critical public services are conveniently within the reach of many Kenyans. The Huduma Kenya universal staff is a Huduma Kenya staff who is trained to offer services on behalf of ministries, counties, departments, and agencies in more than one area. Currently, for example, the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority and the Affordable Housing Program in the Ministry of Lands, Housing, Public Works, and Urban Development utilize the Huduma Universal staff to offer their service in our Huduma centers. In order to support customer access to digitalized online government services, Mr. Speaker, on 30th of June 2023, His Excellency the President launched the e-Citizen platform that has made available over 17,000 government services to the citizens. Huduma Kenya is complementing this agenda by providing in-person and assistance support to citizens who need help accessing these services through the 57 Huduma Kenya cyber cafes in all our Huduma centers. These are supporting the access to public services to the digitally disadvantaged, persons living with disabilities, the elderly, and any other Kenyan that requires support to access government e-services. MDAs have since trained the Tana River Center Cyber Cafe staff to offer end-to-end online services. The Speaker, with regard to devolution of services, as this is important, it's one of the key core functions of this House, the recently launched Kenya Vision 2030 MTA and the MTP4 plan envisages the setup of Huduma digital centers in the 290 constituencies. To actualize this, Huduma Kenya has partnered with the members of the National Assembly through a co-funding model where members use their national government CDF fund for the construction of the centers. Huduma Kenya Secretariat operationalizes the centers by branding, providing ICT infrastructure, furniture, deploying services, and management of the day-to-day operations of the Huduma Center. Mr. Speaker, it is a well-known fact that recently, indeed I think last week, the High Court did give some decision with regard to the National Government Constituency Development Fund about its continued existence in light of constitutional provisions relating to devolution and other aspects on separation of powers. But Mr. Speaker, Huduma Kenya has operationalized 4 Huduma centers, that is in Marimanti, Mara, Kathwana, those are in Tharaka Nithi County, and Gatundu North, and in the financial year 24-25 is planning to operationalize 7 Huduma centers in the following constituencies: Runyenjes, Molo, Malindi, Kaloleni, Ganze, Maua, and Ikolomani. The following members of Parliament have also commenced the process of establishing Huduma centers in their respective constituencies, namely Sotik, Lafe, Madera South, Dadaab, Kinango, Kapenguria, Soi, Mathare, Funyula, Teso South, Bura, Rabai, Kitui East, Embakasi Central, Tetu, Kipipiri, Likuyani, and Kajiado South. Huduma Kenya, the Speaker, handles government customer queries through the Huduma Contact Center, which provides telecounseling services on a 24-hour global customer support available through a single dialing prefix 1919. Honorable Speaker, Huduma Kenya is on a scheduled basis holds Huduma Mashinani outreach programs. Huduma Center extends services to remote and far-flung areas, improving access for citizens with limited resources. The final question Mr. Speaker, with regard to plans to renovate Holla Huduma Center, which is in a dilapidated state, as well as upgrade its services. The Speaker, in the financial year 23-24, Huduma Center Tana River Holla undertook routine maintenance, which included tile repairs for the entire center. And the Speaker, we've annexed a photograph showing how the center looked like before the repairs were undertaken, and now how it looks like currently. Further, the following equipments were installed at the center to enhance security: a walk-through scanning machine, CCTV security cameras and a control room, biometric access control system, and an alarm system. The Speaker, we've annexed again photographs showing all those all that infrastructure that was installed. In the financial year 24-25, and based on availability of budget, the following additional works are planned to be undertaken at the Holla Huduma Kenya Center. That is Huduma Center rebranding, and B, completion of the tiles repairs, which is at 5%, the balance. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, once again, I wish to thank you for this opportunity to appear before the senators to respond to the questions raised by the Honorable Senator Danson Mungatana. I take this opportunity to request you and the Honorable Senators to urge county governments to deploy county services in Huduma centers across the country. The Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development looks forward to continued partnership with the Senate and will continue undertaking its mandate of guiding the service and creating the enabling work environment for efficient and effective service delivery to all citizens. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, CS. Honorable Mungatana, pursuant to Standing Order 51C7A, you may ask 2 supplementary questions. And supplementary questions are exactly that. They must flow from the primary question. You may proceed.
Bwana Spika, kwanza namshukuru sana waziri wetu wa public service kwa kufika kuja kujibu maswali haya ya Tana River. Bwana Spika, mimi nilikuwa kwanza nataka kumuomba spika wetu, sio spika siku hizi ni waziri wetu, atembee Tana River, asisikize vile maafisa wake wanamwambia pale. Hii Huduma Center iko katika barabara kubwa ambayo inaingia county headquarters yetu ya Tana River. Ukipita fence imeanguka, hakuna gate ndani. Ukiangalia hizo tiles wamekwambia kumebaki 5%, hakuna 5% imebaki. Wewe ndio uone mwenyewe. Hakuna maji ndani ya hiyo Huduma Center. Watu wanasumbuka, Bwana Speaker. Na pia ukiangalia Bwana Speaker, haujataja, Bwana Waziri, haujataja ni pesa ngapi ambazo zimewekwa kwa mwaka huu ya kumalizia kazi za renovation. Hapo umetaja kwamba unataka kufanya rebranding. Sasa rebranding na fence imeanguka, hakuna hata usalama pale. Rebranding, watu wanakupeleka vibaya, Bwana Speaker, Bwana Waziri. Sisi tunakuomba uje mwenyewe na utueleze ukisimama ni pesa ngapi umeweka za kufanya marekebisho ya ile Huduma Center, kwa sababu Huduma Center ya Holla inaleta pesa na watu pale wanapeleka mambo zao. Ni pesa ngapi ambazo umeweka fence isimame Mahali hiyo, yani ile aibu ya serikali kuu iondoke pale. Ni pesa ngapi? Swali langu la pili bwana waziri. Bwana waziri, hapa umesema eti kuna interns walikuwa wanatakikana, na Tana River County interns hawakuomba nafasi hizo. Yani bwana spika, mimi nilikuwa nataka waziri atueleze ni kwa nini swala muhimu na services muhimu, huduma muhimu kama huduma ya pesa za Uwezo Fund haziko kwa hiyo Huduma Center yetu. Sasa watu wangejuaje kuapply kuwa interns katika hii huduma yako, hii Huduma Center, kama watu hawapewi hii service? Tena ingine ambayo haiko ni hii Youth Development Enterprise Fund, bwana waziri, haipo. Mimi nilikuwa na kuomba sana, wajua hapa Nairobi na sehemu za town, hizo sehemu mtu akikosa hapa ataenda pale atajisaidia, lakini kule nje kama Tana River, na kuomba utafutie pesa za kutosha, ututembelee, ujionee. Mimi sisemi maneno ya story, na kuomba waziri uje kwetu, si mbali. Ukiingia ukisema tutaenda na tutarudi hata kesho, uone tu na uangalie hali zilivyo, na kuomba utupatie. Yani swali ni kwamba, je, unaweza kutupatia preferential treatment, kwa sababu tuko mbali. Watoto wetu wanatafuta NTSA lesson, hawapati, paka waende Malindi, paka waende Garissa, hawapati pale Holla. Na kuomba utusaidie na upgrade hiyo sehemu yetu. Je, utakuja lini? Umeweka pesa ngapi? Na utatu-upgradea lini Holla Huduma Center? Asante bwana Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Mungatana, I've given you latitude. But there is no word like upgrade. I don't think we have such a word somewhere. But anyway, I will allow the CS to proceed to respond to those two questions. The first question, Honorable CS, is how much have you set aside this financial year for purposes of completing that Huduma Center, or rather completing the renovations? And the second question is, considering the remoteness of Tana River County, would you give them, you called it preferential treatment? Those are the two questions. You may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I still want to thank the Honorable Mungatana for raising the issues that is raised in the supplementary question. First, I wish to confirm that I'm ready to pay a visit to Holla on a priority basis to see for myself the issues that the Honorable Mungatana has raised. But the Speaker, the issue about the fence and where the center is near a road is well known to both the ministry and the Huduma Kenya. But what is to be done, and which is what I've said, is that the fencing is to be done. And Mr. Speaker, with regard to the percentage of what has not been done, I have attached photographs which I believe, Mr. Speaker, both the Honorable Mungatana and myself can sit down and agree on the percentages. But what is important, Mr. Speaker, is that it is in the plans by Huduma Kenya to do the fence, because it's important, and also to do the rebranding. Those are important. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, As is well known to this House, and indeed to many Kenyans, development money in the ministry was, in light of the austerity measures adopted by the country, was removed 100%. And it's for that reason that in my answer, I've said that we are planning to request for budgetary support. We cannot say how much money because, the Speaker, there is zero development budget in our ministry with regard to the functioning of Huduma centers. The Speaker, I am informed that the issue of availability of water at the Holla Center is one that is affected by sometimes the intermittent nature of by which a water supply at the center is. But again, the Huduma Kenya is willing, as long as we get budgetary provision, to handle. Indeed, as raised by the Honorable Senator Mugatana, it will be a sad occasion that citizens will go for services and they have no places where they can go to relieve themselves, and also provision of water. The model that we are adopting is one that is to provide convenience to citizens when they go for services at our Huduma centers. With regard to the issue of interns, the Speaker, it is a matter that, unfortunately, though falling at the policy level within the ministry, was handled by the Constitutional Commission, Public Service Commission, established, I'm sure the House fully appreciates, under Article 233, and whose functions are clearly provided for in Article 234. It's the one that began the internship program. They advertise. The information that they have given me is that they advertise for everybody in the country to apply. And then deployment. Deployment is on the basis of various ministries, departments, and agencies. In this case, the Weso Fund agency did not avail any chance to the interns, even though there were some who are not from Tana River. But because of the convenience of deploying people to areas which make sense to them, unfortunately, none was deployed to the Holla Huduma Kenya Center. It's a matter that I will take up with the Public Service Commission so that in the very near future, because they are doing some more internship program, we can get some people trained or attached to this particular center in view of the critical role that the centers play, and the issues raised by the Honorable Mugatana with regard to distances citizens from Tana River and Holla in particular have to travel to go and obtain government services in other places far away from Tana River County. Indeed, the Speaker, as I conclude, I want to assure the Honorable Mugatana that we as a ministry, through those various interventions, like one I've said, the letters written by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and also the intervention by the head of public service, we intend to ensure as many government agencies do deploy personnel or avail personnel to be trained to over some of the front-end services that many of these departments and agencies over, so that we can't get this kind of situation like the NTSA, people in Holla having to really struggle to travel long distances. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, I am aware that they have to travel very far because there is no Huduma Center even in Malindi. Because the Member of Parliament for Malindi has just this month approached me with a view to assisting her set up a Huduma Center in Malindi. So I can appreciate the distances that the people of Tana River have to travel to get these kind of services. And the reason why Huduma Kenya services was established way back in 2013 and effected in 2014 was to try and bring some of the government services closer to the people. And for that reason, that so many services we are told are being offered on the e-citizen platform and digitally through other forms, and it's unfair that we can have a situation in which the people of Tana River cannot benefit from such government services. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Welcome, CS, to the Senate. CS, listening to you, I don't know how to ask the question, but I'll ask. You seem to be saying you have zero budget to implement matters Huduma. You seem to be begging MPs and counties and state departments to uptake or to facilitate the Huduma services. So my question is this. We have 5 days to go before we move from NHIF to the SHA. Only 1.2 million Kenyans have registered with the new system against 14 million registered with NHIF. Is your ministry and Huduma services being utilized to fast track the transition of all of those who have paid and are members of NHIF to the SHA arrangement in order for us to avert any crisis in our health facilities come 1st October 2024?
Senator Mbugua. CS, just note the questions so that you can be able to respond to a number of them, as opposed to responding to one and then you listen to the other.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of access for essential services, I would like the Cabinet Secretary to specifically state to this House the measures which have been taken to ensure universal access for persons with disabilities, and tell this House how many of these Huduma centers have sign language interpreters for people who deserve that service. Thank you.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question relates to the operations of Huduma centers, and I would want to know from the CS whether there is a common service charter for all the Huduma centers across the country, or we have different service charters for different Huduma centers. Mr. Speaker, just a small one. Is it not a requirement then that all essential government services are available in all Huduma centers? Because I'm hearing the CS saying is appealing to government departments to second staff to the Holla Huduma Center. Is it not a requirement that all essential government services should be available in every Huduma center? I thank you, Speaker.
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika, swali langu kwa waziri wa PSC ni kuwa kumekuwa na malalamishi katika kaunti 47 mambo ya kuajiri watu katika civil department. Ningetaka kujua Bwana Waziri, ulianja kazi nzuri, utafanya namna gani ndio kila kaunti iwe ikisherekea keki ya Kenya mzima, kwa sababu kumekuwa na shinda mambo ya vijana wetu wale wamesoma, na pia mambo ya intern. Kaunti nyingi imekuwa na shinda kwa sababu wale watu wao kwa department wakiajiri watu wafanye imbalancing, na sasa wewe ni waziri mpya, utasaidia namna gani? Hiyo ingine, watu wengi wamepitisha miaka 60 na wanjaashishwa kazi, na tunajua vijana wetu wanataka kazi, na sasa utasaidia namna gani ndio kila kaunti iweze kusherekea upande wa kazi? Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Gataya, more fire.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question is very simple to the CS, Public Service. Honorable CS, you know Huduma Kenya Service is not about buildings. I'm happy that recently His Excellency the President was able to launch about 3 Huduma centers in the County, Honorable CS, and you are aware. But these Huduma centers, Honorable CS, are skeleton. They are just houses with no staff. You can go to Barimanti, you will not find even a single staff serving citizens in terms of the National Hospital Insurance Fund. No staff for pension staff, professionals for that matter, no staff for Kenya KRA. There are no registration biometrics, no NTSA. So these are Huduma centers, Honorable CS, by names. So what is your minister doing to make sure that the core services that are required to be rendered to these Huduma centers are installed? Because we have Huduma Center in Marimanti, which is just a skeleton of itself. Huduma Center in Mara, which is beautifully done, but it's just a shell. Then Huduma Center in Kadwana, the county headquarters for the County, which is just there by its name. So what is it that we are doing to make sure that these facilities get to serve people who it is intended to serve? What is your minister doing to make sure that people get services in this regard? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's been a lot of conflicting information around cost. Could the minister clarify the cost of acquiring the following documents? 1, a new national identity card, renewal of the national card, acquisition of a birth certificate, acquisition of a passport, and renewal of a passport. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to really thank honorable senators who've raised quite a number of pertinent issues relating to the functioning of a Huduma Center. The Speaker, I want to agree with Senator Catherine Muma. I believe, Speaker, I believe I know most of the senators by their names. On the question of migration from NHIF into the SHA/SHIF, it's a matter that has exercised the minds of many people in government. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, since I think 2 weeks ago, I have been appalled by the information that has been coming through that only a paltry 1.2 million Kenyans have so far registered. I think it's a matter that should worry everybody who really is intent on seeing the success of the rolling out of the universal health coverage, if it has to really be seen to cover the entire country and as many people as it is intended to. Mr. Speaker, and I think my response to this question would is likely to answer some other question that has been raised, maybe by some other senators. The Speaker, we at Huduma Center, or indeed at the ministry, cannot or do not have the wherewithal to compel the ministries, other ministries, departments, agencies, and counties to utilize the services offered by Huduma Kenya in their centers. And indeed, it is in that regard that I did indicate the efforts that have been made by my predecessor in March of this year, by the Prime Cabinet Secretary in April 22nd this year, trying to appeal to ministries, departments, and agencies to kindly utilize these services. We, at the ministry, have offered to hold training sessions whereby we can have the people we are calling universal staffers, will be a person who is capable of offering services, frontal services, requiring, say, for instance, renewal of driving licenses, birth certificate, certificates of good conduct, and several of those services. We can have one person deal with 5 to even 10 services. But the Speaker, as we all know, change moves very slowly. It happens very slowly. So we are seeing this in ministries, departments, and agencies, and indeed even as well as in counties. But as of today, our CEO at the Huduma Kenya Secretariat has written to the Social Health Authority asking them to utilize the services availed at the Huduma centers to register more Kenyans into the SHIF. That will be my response, Mr. Speaker, to the question raised by the Honorable Senator Muma, with whom I agree. Indeed, the issues he has pointed out is quite true. With regard to the issue of universal access raised by Senator Mbugua, indeed, it is true that we would require a lot of lead time, because it's only this year that we have seen a lot of efforts being made, but we continue appealing to ministries and departments and agencies. We at Huduma Kenya will be ready to deploy those people specially or variously abled. Maybe people who may need braille services, people who may need sign language services at our Huduma centers. But of course, it's a process that takes time, because as we are saying, ministries and departments are not rolling out as fast as we would have expected. But also, I want to agree that there is need for us to begin, even if it is just here in Nairobi, because I want to admit, we don't have people offering those kind of services. But it is a desire of Huduma Kenya to have such services also available in our some of our centers, depending on need. Again, there will be need to do some needs assessment. The Speaker, there is a question raised by the Honorable Senator Kio Wambua, the distinguished senator for Kitui, with regard to service charters. I want to say that there is an element of commonness, just like we have in MOUs. As a service charter is likely to, one service charter is likely to differ just slightly depending on the kind of service that a particular MDA, ministry or department, or indeed a county wishes to offer. But generally, they are common. In fact, I have a model one here, which are annexed as, in the responses that I filed to the House, it's annexed as Annex 1, which was the one, the Tana River Huduma Center Full Service Delivery Charter. But it will be modified depending on the kind of service that an MDA or a ministry would be offering. The Speaker, the Senator for Embu, Honorable Chandra Kamundigi, Munyi Mundigi, I did indicate, Mr. Speaker, that I know. But the Honorable Mundigi took me to a different area. It's about employment and fairness in recruitment. The Speaker, this ministry, the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development, is not involved in employment or recruitment into the public service. However, that's a function, a constitutional function given to the Public Service Commission. As you well know, I'm sure the House is well familiar with the provisions of Article 234. More particularly, if you read Clause 2, it is their responsibility to employ, and if you go to Clause 2, you go to even Paragraph A, Roman 2, you may see the functions of the Public Service Commission, and I'm sure the Honorable Senator for Kakamega is likely to expound further on what is provided in that Article 234, Clause 2, Paragraph A, Roman 2. It's not a function of the ministry, it's a function of the Public Service Commission, but they are to be guided, as we all know, by the requirements placed in Article 232 on values in public service, and also as contained more particularly in the Public Service Commission Act of 2017. The Speaker, the Senator for Tharaka Nithi, the Honorable Mofire, aka Kataya, spoke about the nature of skeleton staff at Marimanti, which is near his village, Mara Constituency, and Kathwana in Chukwegamba Ng'ombe. It is true, Mr. Speaker, that the staff there are skeleton, but as you all know, these are the centers that were just opened or operationalized, actually this financial year, soon after the debacle of the Finance Bill 2024, which we are all quite alive to, and we know what happened. So it is true indeed that the staff in those 3 Huduma centers are, skeletal, but we will be beefing them. We will add more staff as we move on. The Speaker, finally, a question by my good friend, the indomitable Senator for Kakamega, with regard to costs. Mr. Speaker, we at the Huduma Center may not be able to speak authoritatively on the question of how much it costs to apply for a new birth certificate, or even to renew passports, and all these other certificates, because the issue of the costs is domiciled in the Ministry of Interior with regard to those ones, but with regard to the issue of birth certificate, driving licenses, that is within the NTSA, which falls under the Ministry of Transport, Roads and Transports, Mr. Speaker. I hope, Mr. Speaker, I've been able to respond to the various supplementary questions.
Thank you, Honorable CS. We will now take the final round. Honorable Mutinda Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I wanted to start by giving my remarks to the CS, congratulating him for his new position and role. And I quickly wanted to ask Bwana Waziri, do you have an Huduma number? Because from the question that Senator Boni had even asked in terms of these costs that are in place, since I have an Huduma number, when it came to place, it was to be able to help sort a lot of identifications in terms of having a driving license, having an ID card, having an SSF number, NHIF, and all those being consolidated in one card, which then cuts the cost of acquiring all these documents, and also helping the government have one data that comprises of all the information for all the Kenyans. So what's your take as far as the Huduma number issue is concerned? What's your futuristic strategic focus as far as this number is in place in this country? Because definitely funds were used. So what's your take, Bwana Waziri? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bwana Waziri, karibu sana. Sorry, I have to speak English, Mr. Speaker. Bwana CS, I was just wondering, how would you sustain motivating the staff? Because whenever you go to Huduma Center, you realize there's, the quality service is quite down. The systems have broken down, delay at the counters, inadequate staff. So how do you plan to motivate the staff so that they can work better? At times you even find that they are unable to reconcile all the different services that are supposed to be done. Just motivation of staff. Thank you, Bwana CS and Mr. Speaker.
Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to also join my colleagues who are congratulating the CS on his new position. I know the CS very well. He was my chairman for 5 years at the PSC, so I worked with him very closely and enjoyed that time working with him. But more curiously for me, though, is to see the Speaker of the National Assembly before what looks like a dock before the Senate, Mr. Speaker, much as he's coming to answer questions. I know that is not a scene he forethought during his years in the National Assembly, but I do welcome the CS quite well. Mr. Speaker, I want to know from the Cabinet Secretary whether at his ministry he has sight or knows the exact number of public servants we have, at least in the executive, Mr. Speaker, in this republic, because I know one of the most contested costs to the exchequer. We are living in this very difficult fiscal strain season, Mr. Speaker, and you are being asked to make savings everywhere. And one of the areas that has been pointed out as areas where this administration must seriously improve on is on the cost that Kenyans are having to bear to pay public servants. So it would be important to know what is the number and whether in his mind he thinks they are more than we need, they are less than we need, and if there is, Mr. Speaker, anything being done to ensure that as a country we do not take more than a fair share of public servants needed to deliver service and not overburden Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, because we are paying too much in salaries to public servants at the expense of the millions of taxpayers who pay taxes. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable CS, although my questions are touching on sectorial issues, but as the CS Public Service and in charge of human capital development, I would like to know what your input would be as a ministry on the various challenges that the public sector in this country are facing. We have a case of the health sector, the issues of intern doctors. We have lecturers that have been on the street.
Honorable Senator, just let me guide you.
Yes.
You are rising to ask a supplementary question. It must be related to the primary question.
Yes, Speaker.
Although I gave some kind of leeway to Senator Alexander Mundigi, who certainly veered off, because any question that is not related to Huduma Center then cannot be a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Other the Huduma Center services, there are other public sector services. What is just your input as a ministry on the other sectors, public sector challenges, and what would be your take on the challenges that the public sector is going through? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Morango.
Asante sana, Mstahiki Spika. Swali yangu ingekuwa kuuliza waziri, na kwanza nimpe kongole kwa kupata nafasi ya kuwa waziri katika serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Kwa sababu kuna upungufu wa wafanyakazi sana sana katika Huduma Center nyingi. Unafanya nini ama unakusudia kufanya nini kuhakikisha kwamba kuna wafanyakazi wa kutosha na kuhakikisha kwamba kuna foreni katika kupata huduma ambazo inatafutwa sana na wakeza katika Huduma Center? Asante, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindo Agnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. But I want to start by congratulating Honorable CS in his new position. Mr. Speaker, my question is, how does the CS plan to build more Huduma centers? Because like in Machakos, when one is traveling from Masinga to come to Machakos town, sub-county, from Masinga sub-county to Machakos sub-county, it costs them a lot of money just to come and pick something that they should get from Masinga. How do you plan to spread across the counties the Huduma centers so that you move the services near to the people, so that you can serve them from very near? And like other senators, the problem of understaffing in the Huduma centers. Thank you.
Senator Kathuri Murungi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to congratulate the CS for public service, and also to give my credentials how I know him, as Majority Leader has put it. I've worked under him in the National Assembly for 10 years, together with Senator Manzo. And more importantly, I participated to elect him twice as my speaker. So maybe when time comes, CS Muturi, you come to Meru to do something for me there, especially in 2027, God willing. So, Mr. CS, Huduma Centers is a novel idea which was started by the government of Kenya. Now that we are steering, we are not sure. As I was driving to this office, Mr. CS, I heard you give so many Huduma centers that might be supported by NGCDF. And I also heard you mention that we have, there was a ruling from the High Court about the constitutionality of the NGCDF. Now that all these constituencies and approached you, that you do corroborate with them, and noting that also you have mentioned that you have no development budget. What maybe might your ministry do to ensure that all these constituencies that you mentioned and others that are in the pipeline also get money maybe through the exchequer, maybe in the next financial year also, so that you can have these services, especially in Meru, where I come from. South Imenti constituency, Central Imenti, Bole, Tigania West, Tigania East, Egembe Central, Egembe South, Egembe North. Actually, South, I heard you mention that Imowa will be getting one. So what will your ministry do to have these Huduma centers accomplished? Now, noting that NGCDF might be a thing of the past, even though I don't know the National Assembly, their strategy to ensure that this fund is restored back. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Honorable Muturi, former Speaker of the National Assembly, for the appointment as a Cabinet Secretary, and go on to ask about the people with disabilities in the Huduma centers. There has been an issue that not as many has been hired, and if any, they work at the back office. What are you going to do to make sure that the people with disabilities first are well represented, well taken care of, and are able to participate in nation building and working within the Huduma centers? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And indeed, I want to thank the members of this House who have raised various issues in further supplementaries. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this round starts off with the supplementary question raised by Senator Mutinda. I believe I have not forgotten her name. The Speaker, I want to agree with Senator Mutinda because the issue of Huduma number, all unique identifier, is what I believe is currently being rolled out through the Maisha card that is being rolled out by the Ministry of Interior. And I think once that is, once it is actualized, it will go a long way in assisting Kenyans access several services without having to move from one office to another. In some jurisdictions that I'm aware of, with just one number, the one that a person is allocated at birth, you use it into school, into marriage, those that end up in those unions, and until in so many other endeavors, human endeavors. So I want to agree with Senator Mutinda that the essence is to have a unique identifier, a number which identifies you uniquely and not any other person, and with no possibility of being rolled out. Unfortunately, the Honorable Mr. Speaker, we as a ministry are not the ones responsible for coming up with that unique identifier. It's a function in the Ministry of, in our sister Ministry of Interior. So, it may be a bit unfair for me to comment extensively on what my personal views would be about it. But suffice to say, I would want to agree and support the idea of having a unique one number to uniquely identify a person, and so that you can access all manner of services without having to, just by using that number.
Senator Mutenda, allow the Honorable CS to respond uninterrupted.
You see, Mr. Speaker, like I'm saying, it is not our ministry that is responsible for the issuance of all manner of cards, including, I know, the account that I was also in the past issued with, but which is of no use currently, because I think there has been, as we all know, there's public knowledge that there's been a lot of litigation around the issue of that unique number, unique identifier, variously known as either the Maisha number or the Huduma number. It's the same thing. But I think what I've read recently is that the litigation has now come to an end, and the ministry concerned is now rolling out. The Speaker, there has been a question raised by Senator Kibwana, I believe. Yes, I've appeared before her in another committee. The Speaker, the issue of motivation of staff, the staff, serving at our various Huduma centers is a matter that has been considered, and indeed, there is. I want to announce to the House and the country that Huduma Kenya does give them some additional stipend over and above their, what they receive as their monthly emolument, just to motivate them, because it's important that the people, the staff we have at the Huduma centers become highly motivated, because if they are not motivated, the services they will give to Kenyans will not be appreciated. And also to announce, Mr. Speaker, to the House, that sometimes the issues we do suffer, sometimes they're just the normal issues, which I believe even within Parliament do happen, issues of internet downtimes. And they are handled outside of the purview of the ministry, and indeed even the purview of the Huduma Kenya Secretariat. It is not unique to Huduma Kenya centers. So it's just something that sometimes we do have downtimes of the internet and things like those, but with the time, like happens all over, anywhere. It is resolved and the services continue. But we do give some stipends to motivate our staff. And Mr. Speaker, just to announce to this House, until early this year, when there was a few issues that happened, the customer satisfaction rate for our Huduma Kenya centers stood at 95%, quite a high one. But because of the issues that I'm sure we are all quite aware of, that customer satisfaction rate dropped a bit to 78%. But we are up and running, desirous through motivating our staff to rise again to that level of beyond 95%. The Speaker, the question asked by Honorable Senator Beatrice Akinyi about challenges in other public sectors, it was not quite clear because it was not specific to which sector. This is the health sector. I think she referred to the issues in the health sector. If it is issues within the health sector, obviously they would fall under the relevant dockets, which is the Ministry of Health, and we in Public Service and Human Capital Development may not be appropriately suited to speak authoritatively about them. And how we respond, of course, to those kind of challenges will depend each case will depend on its peculiar circumstances, so that our reaction cannot be generalized, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the question raised by the Honorable Senator for Kirinyaga, Senator Morango, on skeleton staff, again, I want to appreciate and agree with him that yes, indeed, because of the slow uptake by the ministries, departments, and agencies, sometimes we have not found it easy to deploy a lot of staffers. And that's why we have resorted now to training the people we are calling universal staffers, so that one person can be able to give services in various, could raise the issue about education, higher education loans board, matters about driving license, matters to do with birth certificate. That's why we are training to have these universal staffers, so that we also cannot say that we want to do one center, we put there 1,000 people. And I think this is going to be tied to the question raised by my good friend, the leader of the majority party, the Honorable Senator Aaron Cheruiyot. That issue of how many staffers we are going to have. Mr. Speaker, but sorry, and actually jumped the issue raised by the Honorable Cheruiyot because I thought he had gone out. Now that he's back. Mr. Speaker, just to announce before this House and to the country, the approximate number of people in the public service, which is not a constant number, is around 900,000. But the number keeps, going down, going up, depending on various factors like, natural attrition, retirements, sackings, and such like, issues. And of course, from time to time, the advices on stopping further recruitments. So the number is not constant. It's just around there, around the figure of 900,000. And that includes people in mainstream public service, both at the national level and at the county level, also the National Police Service and Teacher Service Commission. That includes all of those categories. My good friend, Senator for Machakos, the Honorable Kavindu Mudhama, yes, the issue of people traveling long distances is a reality. Indeed, that's the point that the Honorable Mungatana, in the main question, I realized was his main concern. And it is true. This is a matter that we must address. But just to say that just last weekend, actually, on Saturday, I had a meeting with the member of Oyata, the Honorable Basil Ngui, who indicated to me that he wants to launch the construction of a Huduma center at Matu. And again, like I've indicated, of course, we are liaising with members of parliament in the 290 constituencies. We cannot force them, but a discussion had been held long before I came into the ministry, and several members did agree that there was need to partner with Huduma Kenya. And that's why initially there was an agreed budget of about 23 million for the putting up of just ordinary structures. Unfortunately, when you put just ordinary structures, Huduma Kenya will only come and help you with subdivisions here and there. It is not really the ideal. When the drawings were taken to the Ministry of Public Works, and I know here I know the Honorable Leader of Majority would recall, the Ministry of Public Works, when it comes to doing things called BQs, they are interesting professionals. So they came up with different BQs, raising the total cost to around between 84 and 89 million per center. We are still partnering with the members of parliament, and therefore the issue of those that in Masinga constituency, which you specifically referred to, I think if the honorable member from Masinga could also liaise with us and agree to partner with us. Never mind that there's been, as the Honorable Kadhuri Murongi has indicated, my good friend, and the distinguished senator for Meru and the Deputy Speaker. Never mind what the ruling by the High Court last week. It gave some window, which is that the National Government Constituency Development Fund will cease to be operational at the stroke of midnight, 30th June 2026. So there's still, I think, sufficient lead time between now and then for the various members who haven't come forward to us, because this is a matter of giving service to the people we represent. So, in fact, I don't see why any member should be dilly-dallying on the need to partner with us, because we are actually helping them to access also, to help people access the various services, pensions. And I don't know, in both houses, the issue of pensions to people who have retired from various places is always a headache. And that's why we're still making deliberate efforts to constantly remind ministries and agencies and departments to please come and offer those services, particularly the front services, through our Huduma centers located in various parts of the country. And just to inform the House that every year the ministry requests the National Treasury, and of course through the National Assembly, for 2 billion shillings towards setting up of modern Huduma centers across the country. But sadly, we always end up with zero allocation. Honorable Speaker, we should thank the Honorable Manso, the Senator from Makueni, in raising the issue of people living with disabilities in our Huduma centers. Just to say that, yes, indeed, we have considered in some of the places when they have come forward for employment, indeed, even at our headquarters, there are some people living with disabilities working in our Huduma centers. But again, depending on the service, the various services to be given in a particular center, consideration will be given to people living with disabilities, because it is a constitutional imperative. It is not optional. Mr. Speaker, may I once again thank you and thank the members and thank the entire House for according me this opportunity to respond to the various questions raised by the honorable senators. I thank you.
Now, honorable senators, that terminates our interaction with the honorable CS. Honorable CS, let me, on behalf of the Senate, extend our appreciation for availing yourself for purposes of responding to the questions that you indeed have ably responded to. You may now retire at your pleasure. Thank you so much. We will move to question number 32. Directed to the CS in charge of tourism. And that is, the question is by the Honorable David Wakoli. Clerk, you may proceed to usher in the Honorable CS. Honorable CS, let me take this opportunity to welcome you back to the Senate. You are to respond to question number 32 by the Senator for Bungoma County. There was also a question number 089 that was supposed to be asked by the Senator for West Pokot, but this one you're not going to respond to today because of the unavailability of the senator who is supposed to raise this question. And therefore, Honorable CS, you will be expected to respond to just one question. That is question number 032 by the Honorable Senator for Bungoma. Senator Wafula, you may now proceed to raise your question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll proceed to ask my questions. Question number 1, what initiatives has the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife implemented to develop and promote tourism in Bungoma County? B, how many employees has the ministry deployed to the county to support tourism development initiatives? And could the Cabinet Secretary also explain steps taken to address any shortfall? C, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a status update on all programs in Bungoma County budgeted by the ministry in the financial years 2022-2023 and 2023-2024, and outline any other programs earmarked for funding in the short and midterm? D, what strategies and incentives has the ministry deployed to attract local and foreign investment in the tourism sector in Bungoma County? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and members, for inviting me this morning to respond to the 4 questions under question number 32. And indeed, Bungoma, that is located in Western Kenya, is an emerging tourist destination with a unique blend of natural beauty, cultural heritage, and historical significance. So the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has undertaken several initiatives to develop and promote tourism in Bungoma County by implementing the following. Number 1, the ministry has undertaken registration and licensing of all regulated tourism enterprises and conducting regular quality audits within the county through the Tourism Regulatory Authority. And this has ensured quality service provision and customer satisfaction, ultimately making Bungoma a good tourist destination. Under this program, 72 regulated tourism enterprises have been audited and advised on the areas that require improvement. The other initiative is that stakeholders in the county have been sensitized on the various standards to ensure tourism establishments offer quality services. And during these forums, awareness on duty-free importation of items was created as prescribed under the EAC Customer Management Act and the Finance Act 2017. Number 3, we've had coordinated and assisted stakeholders, especially hotels, to form an association, and we now have Bungoma Hotel Owners Association for purposes of self-regulation. And then the ministry, through Kenya Tourism Board, conducted a one-day training workshop with county tourism officials in Kakamega County on 18th September 2023, and this covered Bungoma, Kakamega, Vihiga, Siaya, Kisumu, and Homa Bay counties. The sessions were designed to empower county governments and private sector stakeholders with the insights and tools necessary to unearth export-ready gems and craft innovation tourism packages. The specific objectives of the trainings were to identify new products, experiences, facilities coming up in the counties, and evaluate the top iconic experiences identified by the counties. The training was also to establish the key sector players in the county responsible for delivering the adventure, the sports, and cultural experiences, such as the Eshikuti and Amabeka dances. And then it was to scout for potential signature experiences in those counties and to evaluate the status of existing products, tourism, infrastructure in the county. In our ongoing efforts to promote the diverse and tourism products across counties, there has been active and continuous collaboration with county governments to enhance digital footprint of local attractions and events. The production of joint marketing materials with county governments include informative brochures and even videos. The creation of high quality, visually appealing promotional content that captures the essence of Kenya's tourism landscape, and especially in the counties, has also been prioritized in this financial year. The content generated will be used to market the destinations on online and offline platforms. Areas to be covered in Bungoma County include Buteto Miti Park, Bukusu Cultural Center, Mount Elgon and Kitum Cave, hills and waterfalls spread across the county, including Nabuyole. The ministry, through Kenyatta International Conference Center, meeting, incentive conferences and exhibition, known as MICE, Mashinani Awareness Program, has targeted the Lake Region Economic Bloc, in which Bungoma County is a member. Activities being carried out include stakeholder workshops, a session held to demystify what MICE is and creating awareness on the same. We also have incentive travel, exploring the county's potential to identify incentive travel opportunities that the corporations can leverage on and drive business to the counties. We also have MICE mapping. We have identified counties' MICE potential, including associations that various stakeholders in the county are affiliated to and collaborate to jointly bid and host events. That is the response to part A of the question. And Honorable Speaker, I will then proceed with part B. The Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has deployed 41 officers spread across various cadres, 30 in the Tourism Fund, and the Tourism Regulatory Authority in Kisumu, and this covers the Western Region offices where Bungoma County belongs. In addition, we have undertaken the following steps to address the shortfalls in the tourism development initiatives: supporting product mapping, adoption of multi-sectoral approach in tourism development and management at the county level, maintaining a unified county events calendar, supporting counties in digital marketing, then destination development and management through tourism signage across the counties. We also have data collection in support of planning and strategy development, developing county tourism brands, capacity building and training for county tourism staff, and rating of tourism facilities and experiences. Honorable Speaker, under Part C, the government budget allocation to the ministry and its agencies is well utilized in the development, promotion, and marketing of tourism in the entire country, and therefore it may not be possible to isolate the specific amount on the Bungoma County alone because of the arrangement of regions and areas. Also, the various tourist circuits are interdependent and connected to one another in terms of visitors' travel experiences and visitation. For example, Tourism Regulatory Authority has allocated the following funding for the regulatory work in Western Region, which covers Bungoma County in the specified financial year, and in the submission, the details are there for 2022-2023, and also for the year 2023-2024, and most of the work was towards quality assurance and sensitization activities. Similarly, for KICC, on the table shown, we have shown the amounts allocated to the Lake Region block, which includes Bungoma County, for the 2 financial years. Other programs earmarked for funding in the short and medium term in Bungoma County include refurbishment of Koitobos Guest House at Mount Elgon at a cost of 2.6 million Kenya shillings. We also have a road rehabilitation and maintenance of Endebess, Mount Elgon Main Gate, Koimoton Road at the cost of 27 million shillings. And finally, under D, the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has deployed several incentives and strategies to attract local and foreign investment in the tourism sector in the counties, including the county of Bungoma, in collaboration with the relevant agencies. As follows: we have duty exemption to hoteliers and restaurants on imported item under the EAC Customs Management Act, and we have given all the details of the items that are duty exempt. There is also duty exemption for tour vans, for tourism transportation for tour operators, such as sightseeing buses, overload trucks, among others. The ministry also offers tourism business investment advisory services to local investors on where to invest in resorts, eco-lodges, and other establishments in the country, including in the protected areas. We also have concessionary loans at lower interest rates with longer repayment period of between 10 to 20 years offered by Kenya Development Corporation for development or renovation of hotels, lodges, restaurants, and related tourist facilities. We also have duty exemption on tourism boats imported by licensed tour operators and ferry boat parts and accessories. We also have duty exemption for refrigerated trucks and refrigerated trailers. And finally, we have duty exemption on water treatment, effluent plants that may be used by hoteliers in recycling their used waters. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I submit the responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Wakoli David, you have 2 supplementary questions. Don't know whether you want to execute them right away or maybe you would like to handle it, but you have 2 supplementary questions.
Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate the Minister for the brief responses she has put out for us. But as you all understand, Honorable Speaker, that tourism is a venture that has been predominantly benefiting other regions in this country, like the Mara, like Naivasha, like Nakuru. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, zones like Western Circuit of Kakamega, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia have not benefited immensely from these funds that she has ably executed. And that is why my questions were very specific in terms of the staff, the number of staff deployed to Bungoma as a county, the amount of resources specifically channeled to Bungoma County, and by extension, I've seen you've mentioned about meetings that have been carried out of stakeholders in Bungoma. My desire is that moving forward, Honorable Waziri, is that more energy is put in counties because things are now devolved. Counties have specific historical sites like Bungoma. We have Mabanga, we have Chetambe, we have Lumboka. These are places that is important for them to be captured. We have the famous traditional circumcision only done in Western and in this country, where we have seen people go to Uganda.
What is your supplementary question?
I'm coming to the supplementary question, Honorable Speaker. I only beg that you have a little bit patience. So I'm asking, in specifics, Honorable Waziri, how many meetings have been done in Bungoma precisely, apart from the budget that I've seen on the main gate? The main gate is in Trans Nzoia. The other part of Bungoma is in the dark. How much resources? You might not answer now, but in due course we can have specific answers for Bungoma and strategic plans that you have for Bungoma so that we can partner with Bungoma and ensure that we tap in this untapped potential. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Waziri.
Okay, Madam CS.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have noted the points that have been raised by the Honorable Member, and we will put the data together. But just one addition, that this week, where we are celebrating the World UN Tourism Week, we are launching the Western Circuit, which we will do on Friday. And additionally, the ministry established a program called Utalii Mashinani. So far, 11 counties have been visited, including Bungoma, and the discussion with the county government came up with a whole list of what activities need to be done, issues to be addressed, and the timelines therein. And ours will be to follow up on that and ensure that execution has been done. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Do you have another supplementary? Or you wait for your colleagues to? So I was asking you whether you want to ask the second one or you wait for your colleagues to ask a few, then maybe you can come back later.
I can allow my colleagues to proceed and ask questions, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Agnes Kavidu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My first question is, and I'll first of all start by congratulating the CS for the appointment of the new position that she is in now, and welcome to the Senate. Mr. Speaker, my question is Machakos County one of the counties that you are visiting to roll out that that you are rolling out on, other counties? And my other question is,
you have only one supplementary question. You prioritize the best one that you want to ask.
Mr. Speaker, my priority was another one, not this one. Kindly, allow me, kindly.
Then she will answer to that one. Okay, proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My other question is about the wildlife conflicts with the human. I have issues with Masinga Dam, and the outgoing CS, we met with him, and I was requesting if they can fence Masinga Dam to avoid my people being killed by hippos and crocodiles, and also Oldonyo Sabuk Game Reserve. And he had promised that they were looking for funds to be able to fence Masinga Dam and Oldonyo Sabuk Game Reserve. I have Mr. Dennis, a young person, Dennis Musyoka Kalultu, who lost his leg due to hippo. And this is a young boy who goes to school, and his compensation was due early this year. And to date, he has not been compensated, and he has issues going to school. Madam CS, what can you do about this and all other compensations that are due for Machakos County? Thank you.
Let me get a few other questions, then she can answer together. Senator Catherine.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity. And first to welcome CS Rebecca Miano to the Senate. CS Rebecca Miano was my classmate, and I do not say, but just to welcome her and to congratulate her in her new docket. Honorable CS, Article 6 of the Constitution contemplates that national government will, under the devolved governance system, decentralize its services. My question is whether there is an intergovernmental sectoral committee on tourism with the Council of Governors, and what mechanisms you have put in place to ensure regions like Western Kenya that have been marginalized on tourism, even though they have the largest freshwater lake, the only tropical forest with very rare fauna and flora, what mechanism do we have in place to ensure equitable deployment of the development funds to your ministry to actually grow tourism in the Western Kenya circuit? And I ask this noting that from 2013, we have always been told something is being done in Western Kenya, but Western Kenya is exactly where it was from 2013 as it is today. We would want to know, when are we moving from tokenist investment in tourism in the Western Kenya circuit to actual investment in this sector? Thank you.
Honorable Senators, the opportunity I give you is not to take 5 minutes explaining so many things, Senator Catherine, but just to ask you a specific supplementary question. Next is Senator Medhu John.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I also welcome the CS to the Senate. Needless to mention, Honorable Speaker, that the CS is a voter of the county that I represent in this particular Senate. And my supplementary.
You don't have the mic.
I have the mic, Honorable Speaker. On the strategies and incentives that the ministry has deployed to attract local and foreign investment in the tourism sector in Bungoma, my supplementary question that is related to this is an ecosystem in that county that I represent here, the Rekorobosat ecosystem, Honorable Speaker, because it is the only lake in the former central province of the Republic of Kenya, and I would want to know what the ministry is doing to incentivize this particular resource that we have, a home of the largest family of hippos with over 300 species of birds, what we are doing so that we can be able to, one, market that natural resource, and number two, to make it even attractive, to make it known across the globe that this is a place that you can be able to visit, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS, answer those first.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll start with the question for the Honorable Member from Machakos County. I confirm that Machakos County was one of the counties that was visited in the month of March under the program of Utalii Mashinani, and we have an action plan agreed between our ministry and the county government of Machakos, and we look forward to implementing that action plan in order to promote Machakos County tourism. In terms of the questions on human-wildlife conflict, for Oldonyo Sabuk fencing, funds are available. They were sourced successfully, and there is a tendering process in place. The Masinga ecosystem is managed under the Ministry of Energy and not under the State Department for Wildlife. Yeah, the Masinga Dam, yes, under the Ministry of Energy. Honorable Speaker, the question by Honorable Catherine Muma, I wish to confirm that we have, yes, we have an intergovernmental sectoral committee under the ministry and COG, and the governor for Narok is the current chair. We participate actively, attend regular meetings, and a number of MOUs have been put in place, including with KWS for management of game reserves, and with counties, with some of the counties in regard to tourism. Honorable Speaker, the tourism week that is ongoing, the culmination will be in Kisumu County on Friday, and we are launching and unveiling the Western Circuit, covering all the Western counties, and I believe a lot of activity is going on and will continue focusing on other areas apart from the traditional areas, because to grow our tourism, we need to diversify the products and the areas that the country has so that we can have sustainable tourism. The final question on Lake Olbolsat, the process is ongoing of gazetting it as a national reserve under the county government. And KWS is assisting in development of a management plan to ensure good management and also promote tourism. We are working together with other sectoral players and stakeholders, including Ministry of Environment, NEMA, other stakeholders, to ensure the sustainability of that precious lake, which will also go a long way towards promoting tourism and other socio-economic activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's get another round. Who gave you the permission to rise and ask the question? Senator Kavindu, can you have your seat first? You don't know how to catch the eye of the speaker? Senator Kavindu, what is it? Now I can see you have
I need an
your
answer.
intervention. What has not been answered?
About Dennis Musyoka, the young boy who was, whose leg was cut by a hippo, and the compensation was due early this year, and the boy is struggling going to school on one leg without, yes. He's really suffering. The mother calls me every day to ask for money so that she can buy a leg for the son, and the son can also go to school comfortably. So
Okay.
can Madam CS answer that?
No. Have your seat now, Senator Kavindu. Honorable CS, if you don't have the answer, you just say so, and then maybe you might provide later when you have the details.
Yes, on the question of compensation, Honorable Speaker, there is a process that is ongoing to unlock the backlog that exists from 2013, and I know a bit of it has been covered to 2019, but I would like to get specific details and respond more comprehensively and more accurately. Thank you.
Advise you visit the CS in our office, then she can be able to give you an updated version of your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll make a point of visiting her to our office. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Senator Mwinyi Mohammed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I also want to join my colleagues in congratulating the Honorable CS for her appointment to the cabinet in the tourism docket. Madam CS, I wanted to confirm from you whether when is the ministry likely to return the Mamangina waterfront to the county government of Mombasa? This property belonged to Mombasa. The government came in and improved it, but after the improvement, they took away the title deed. So we need our title deed back for the Mombasa Mamangina waterfront. Thank you.
Next is Senator Gataya Mwenda.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a follow-up question to so many other questions that I've been able to raise before this House. To Madam CS Tourism, there is this Ura Cultural Festival. It's an international event observed every year in the month of August. Honorable CS, this function attracts catchers from diverse places, and it is an international event which is observed by all the catch us around Mount Kenya and behold. But this facility, Madam CS, it's a makeshift. There are no facilities, there are no toilets, it's just very dusty. And I remember there was a promise which was made by His Excellency the President, I think 2019-2020 financial year, that this facility was supposed to enjoy 10 million to give it a facelift. I don't know, because I raised this matter before the former CS, who is Honorable Mutua, when he came before this house. I don't know whether it is in your view, Madam CS, that this money is seriously needed downstream so that this facility can get its facelift, that we can have these people enjoying in a better place, because it's an international event which is quite observed, and the people would be relatively very happy to have this facility given a facelift. What is your ministry doing to make sure that this facility, where you were supposed even to be the guest of honor in our last engagement in the last few weeks ago, what is your ministry doing to make sure that this facility gets its 10 million to give it a facelift? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Andy Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my regards to Waziri, and congratulations for your appointment. Mine is a question around maritime tourism. Madam Waziri, would you share with us the case for investment in your ministry and any specific plans, if any, with regards to revitalizing our maritime tourism? And specifically, if you look at the coastal stretch between Mombasa, Malindi, Lamu, all the way to Kismayu, are there efforts by the ministry to rethink the maritime activities such as what is happening in Dar es Salaam, mainland, and connecting to Zanzibar island? Is there a replica investment when you think about maritime tourism in those areas, and stretching that to places like what the senator for, why am I forgetting her name? Senator Catherine Muma asked a question around the case for investment on the tourism in the western part. Could you connect that maritime tourism to a case for the Lake Victoria region? If you think about islands of Migingo connecting to Migori, the opportunity for scuba diving there, neutral nautical sports, sailing, cruising, yachting, boating, and even the islands of Takawiri, Mfangano, coming all the way to mainland Homa Bay. Is there a case and a plan by the ministry to invest in that maritime tourism? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And CS.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In regard to Mamangina waterfront, I am aware that there are discussions going on. I do not have the specific response. I'm still acclimatizing and getting more details so that I can respond conclusively. And therefore, I've taken note of the question and the concerns for a more detailed response later. Honorable Speaker, in regard to the Ura Gate Cultural Festival and the facilities there, the executive order designated this under the Ministry of Culture and Heritage. And I think the renovations and upgrading of the facilities are under the Ministry of Culture. But under the Ministry of Tourism, we do recognize this as a critical festival in promotion of tourism. So the actual details would accurately be available under the Ministry of Culture. The last question on maritime tourism, I confirm strongly that maritime tourism is the way to go. and especially in diversifying the products that we have, not only at the coast, but also in the western region. A lot of work has been done and is being done. I am aware there is a festival, East Africa Ocean Festival in Mombasa from 18th to 20th of October this year. And our ministry is embracing maritime tourism as one of the niche markets that will be attractive not only for the country, but for the regions that are well endowed with the maritime facilities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Let's have another round. Senator Kisan.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to congratulate the CS. We know her as a performer from Kengen and the ministry she's been having, and I'm happy that she's in tourism. My question, Honorable Speaker, is I don't know what plans does the CS have, especially for compensation. In my county, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, we have lost many animals through bandits and people, and we are losing crops every day through elephants that are in Drimoy National Game Reserve, and compensations have not been paid since 2013, and the farmers are struggling. Mangoes have been uprooted by elephants. Honorable Speaker, in addition, I don't know, maybe the best thing to do for if the CS has maybe a plan, because she has a plan, because I know when National Assembly with you for 10 years, and every year, the moment KWS put in money in the budget for compensation, they get slashed. I don't know if maybe they need to come up to think out of the box and see if they can generate maybe a certain percentage of what tourism fund collects and KWS, and set up a fund for compensation so that they have A in A that they generate instead of relying on exchequer from the National Treasury, Honorable Speaker. But I'll come up later on with a substantive question, maybe next week, Honorable Speaker, on proper issues in mapping Elgeyo-Marakwet tourism sites, so that she can give us resources to mobilize, and also in conjunction with the county government of Elgeyo-Marakwet County to identify those sites and promote them. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Veronica Maina.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable CS, welcome once again to Senate. And I don't know, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, whether you are aware that cruise tourism holds a potential, a big potential for our nation, and that the maritime resources we have in Kenya are like the 48th county, which is a sea of opportunities for the young people, a sea of opportunities for the many job seekers that we have in our nation. What is your ministry doing to ensure that we can utilize this potential and we can have tourists now connected from South Africa sailing to Kenya and being able to sail to other destinations in the world without having to take a flight, but being able to enjoy the resources that are in sea, especially what we have under the waters, the sea world? What is your ministry doing? Does it take those resources as part of the resources that are available to promote our economy? And number two, we have the hyenas which have been mauling
Don't ask
people.
two questions, Senator Veronica Maina. Don't ask two questions. Actually, the first one is good enough. Senator Karungo Dangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, and also join the other senators to congratulate the CS in her new dockets. We have a lot of faith in her. She's going to execute her mandate diligently. Mr. Speaker, my people in Juja are in pain. They're mourning because of the human-wildlife conflict or what we are referring to as the hyena menace. Hyenas have killed about 22 people in Juja, Mr. Speaker. Our children, they go to school at 9 a.m. because they cannot go at 6 a.m. because they will be killed by the hyenas. My question is, Mr. Speaker, what specific measures are being implemented to ensure the safety of my people, the people of Juja, the residents of Juja, following these attacks by the hyenas? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Answer those the three, then we do the last round. And I'm serious.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will start with a question on compensation for human-wildlife conflict. Together with the National Treasury, payments have been made for the last 2 years. We are now in the process of operationalizing the county wildlife compensation committees that had not been finalized, so that the process can be mainstreamed and streamlined. We are also digitizing the process for accuracy and efficiency. There are proposals to introduce insurance products moving forward, and the ministry is working with other stakeholders and partners to see how we can have diversified resource mobilization that can be used for human-wildlife conflict compensation, and also activities to promote human-wildlife coexistence and addressing the reasons and ways of stopping the conflicts. Honorable Speaker, in regard to cruise tourism, Mombasa and Lamu Port have been marketed as cruise tourism points, and many cruises are docking, and we have diversified water sports and other activities. We have scheduled meetings at the coast in the next couple of months so that we can work with stakeholders to come up with specific activities, opportunities that are available for implementation. In regard to the hyena menace in Juja, we do acknowledge that it has been an issue of a devastation or an issue that has affected lives. And when this happened, KWS deployed rangers to respond, and we ensured that they are stationed there 24 hours each day. We are also having education and awareness programs, a lot of work in translocating those animals. We are also having consolation fees that is being paid. We are working with NEMA to deal with the quarries that were not restored, and those have become the hideouts for the hyenas. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that together with the leaders and the people of Juja, quite a lot of activities have been undertaken, and in the last couple of weeks, the situation has been contained, but we are still camping there to ensure that the matter is conclusively resolved. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. The next round of questions, I'll ask Senator Abdurrahman Abdullahi Miraj.
Asante Bispika kwa kuweza kunipa fursa hii, na mimi niungane na maseneta wenzangu katika kumpongeza waziri wetu kwa teuzi yake kwa mara ya pili. Huu ni uthibitisho wa kwamba ni mkakamavu katika kazi zake. Swali langu Bi Waziri kupitia kwa spika ni kwamba tunapojitayarisha kuadhimisha siku ya utalii ulimwenguni ambayo dhima yake ni kwamba utalii na amani, ningependa kuuliza ni mikakati gani ambayo wewe kama waziri tangu ingie katika hii ofisi yako mpya umeweza kuona kwamba anga ya Moi International Airport ya kiwanja cha Moi imeweza kufunguliwa kwa ndege za kimataifa za kiutalii kuweza kutua. Nilisimama hapa mwaka jana na nikaweza kuliuliza swali hili kwa waziri wa uchukuzi, lakini kukawa na minomino mingi na mivutano mingi. Ningependa kujua labda ni hatua gani umeweza kuzichukua wewe kama waziri kuona kwamba hizi ndege za kitaifa za kitalii zinaweza kushuka katika uwanja wetu wa Moi pale Mombasa, nikisisitiza ya kwamba utalii ni uti wa mgongo wa gatuzi 6 za pwani, na tunapokuwa hatuwezi kupata watalii kuweza kufika katika maeneo yetu, ni kuashiria kwamba sisi kama wapwani tutaendelea kudidimia katika uchochole, na watoto wetu watakuwa hawawezi kupata nafasi za kazi ambazo tayari nyuma zilikuwa kabla ya janga la corona. Ningependa tu waziri uweze kutueleza kinaga ubaga, sisi kama wawakilishi wa kutoka zile pande za pwani tuweze kujua ni vipi tutadhibiti umaskini, tukiangazia kwamba utalii ni uchumi wa kipekee yake ambao pia unaweza kuongeza mapato ya taifa letu la Kenya. Asante Bi Waziri.
Thank you. Senator Abbas Sheikh Mohammed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to also join my colleagues to congratulate Madam Miano, then I think for the election and the appointment. Mine is actually a concern on the human and wildlife conflict. Madam CS, as you are aware, the conflict of wildlife and human is actually got rampant now. And this is as a result of, the grazing lands have been shrinking. That we are creating more conservancies in the rangelands where the communities are supposed to graze their animals. And therefore, I'm asking your ministry what plan is there, because there's competition for resources, limited resources. And every year, I think many conservancies are coming up. And we need to curtail those kind of conservancies to at least allow the livestock to have a place for grazing. So what plan do you have to curtail the conservancies, the many conservancies that have been created of late? And the other one is the times of drought. Wildlife actually suffers most, especially in our areas, in the rangelands. There is no plan for water. These animals are dying in large number, the wildlife are dying in large number. What's the plan in place for drought mitigations for the wildlife in those areas? Whether you have any drought mitigation or interventions during the drought times, so that the wildlife can be able to coexist with the livestock.
Thank you. Senator Kathuri Murungi, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I like to ask a supplementary question. Just last week, we lost a gentleman from Egembe North, Antobato Ekiongo Ward, Mr. Kimani, who was killed by an elephant. And the same elephant, it slammed down several houses, destroying crops. I think the CS is aware of this, or the Director General of the Kenya Wildlife Service. As my colleagues has put it, Madam Speaker, human wildlife conflict is a serious problem in Kenya. Even when I served in the National Assembly, there were, as you heard the CS mention, the backlog is maybe up to 2013, and we are now in 2024. So the ministry must come up with a strategy on how to pay the compensations for those people who have been killed, who have lost their property. And the reason why this problem is, especially in Meru, is because the national park needs a lot of facilities. The animals there need water. There are no water ponds which have been programmed. So I wanted to know, especially from the CS, when water will be available for the animals in the Meru National Park, and also accessibility, because the loans to access the national park are dilapidated. So my specific question was about the compensation, but also to know the plans that the ministry has to give animals water in Meru National Park and to open up the loans therein. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable CS, you can respond to those 3 questions and then you take the next round of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The first question on tourism and security, which is the theme for this year's World Tourism Day. Towards that, we have discussed with the Ministry of Interior, and tomorrow we will be signing an MOU with activities and programs that we shall use to promote tourism security, including Mombasa. In regard to the airlines that are landing in Mombasa, the honorable member asked me for what I have done specifically since I was appointed. Honorable Speaker, I have been in the job for 5 weeks. This is the 5th week. But I want to confirm that we've had a conversation with the Cabinet Secretary for Transport with a view to discussing more airline access, and especially those that were operating even pre-COVID that had already been licensed and how they can make a return. I wish to confirm that Fly Dubai operates direct flights to Moi International Airport, and also KQ operates 7 times per week between Dubai and Mombasa. And Mombasa being a critical tourist destination, we feel we need a lot more access than we have, and we'll continue having the discussions even in the days to come. I believe that tourism is almost a low-hanging fruit in creating jobs, especially for the youth, and promoting economic opportunities, even in the region. If you look at just what Mombasa is well endowed in, including the beaches, including marine tourism, rich culture, the history, the weather, I think Mombasa can have more tourism and more justice to the tourism sector. And I want to assure the honorable member that we'll do our best, we'll spare no effort in promoting the coast as one of the prestigious tourism destination. It already is, but a lot more can be done. The question on human-wildlife conflict, it is true that human-wildlife conflict is a big challenge and is a vexation. It affects lives. It also affects the animal. There is competition for resources. But we are now working with communities to set up conservancies in a bid to have a win-win situation to allow multiple land use through management plans so that we can have the coexistence of wildlife, livestock, tourism, and other economic activities. We are also working on environmental restoration programs, but noting that conservancies are voluntary, we are disseminating information for the promotion of either private or community conservancies. On the attacks under the Meru Park, the ministry through KWS has programmed construction of water pans, and our ministry is identifying resources to provide even more water, because we know that lack of water is one of the biggest sources of human-wildlife conflict. And we are also consulting with the Ministry of Water and other stakeholders so that we can improve the water provision. We are also working with the Ministry for Roads to improve the access roads in the parks in order to increase tourism visitation in the park. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Boni Halole.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam CS, Vision 2030. Vision 2030 is very clear on the enablers and macros of its success. And the Western Tourist Circuit is key. I'm surprised that you have told us, responding to the question by Senator Catherine Muma about committees that you're forming with governors and so on. Why don't you save us that money and go and read about what is documented on Western Tourist Circuit in Vision 2030? That money you're wasting, tell us today when you're going to shift the thinking of your ministry, which locally and abroad is focused on the white beaches in Mombasa and the Big Five. For us to be persuaded as people who are promoting Vision 2030 that you want to grow, you have to tell us today, Minister, when you're going to open up direct international flights into Kisumu, how much money this year is lost in the next financial year you're going to put into upgrading the Golf Hotel in Kakamega, the Sunset Hotel in Kisumu, and similar hotels in Homa Bay, in Kisii, in Nyamira, and Bungoma. Instead of what Cabinet has told us, that you want to sell these assets. This is what we want to hear and go and tell our people on the ground for them to appreciate that we want to exploit the product of tourism in the Western Circuit. I am ready and willing, in the company of Catherine Muma, to host you. You've talked about Amaveka, and you've talked about Isukuti. You're just scratching the surface, Minister. If I was to host you, you'd be amazed at the potential in Western. I would take you from Kitnikai, take you to the beautiful, only existing tropical forest in Kakamega, take you to the crying stone of Hongomuri. I would take you to the beautiful cultural sites of bullfighting, the Nabongo Mausoleum in Kakamega. Madam CS, you're wasting time with those elephants and tigers and what have you. You have marketed them enough. Put your money in the Western Circuit and you'll grow the number of tourists coming in Kenya. You can see the leaders of Mombasa are so spoiled that you have given them direct flights and they don't know. They are still asking for them. One morning I have been in Mombasa, Madam CS, and I was very envious. I saw 5 Boeing, is it a 777, on the ground in Mombasa. Some of them were not KQ. So you have spoiled them, you've given them too much, they even don't know that they have it. Shift your focus,
Senator
come
Boni,
to Kisumu.
what is your
Thank you, Madam
question?
Speaker. I had to say these things, Madam Speaker. Thank you for allowing me.
Senator Boni, you have thrown the Honorable CS into a bush in Western because you've scattered around and we didn't hear the question. I don't know whether she got any question from you. What was the question, or was it a comment? It's question time. Can you microphone, Secretariat?
Thank you. Madam Speaker, you were consulting when I was raising the question.
No, I was listening.
Yes, I said, allow me to repeat. I said, and I will not take long. I said to shift policy from the white beaches and the big five
So
to come.
what is the question?
The question is this. I wanted her to commit opening of direct flights into Kisumu and committing funds to refurbishing the hotels, which I have enumerated. I don't have to repeat.
What is your point of order, Honorable Miraj?
Chair, is it in order for Senator Boni Halwale to assume that I don't know that there are some international flights landing in Kenya, in Mombasa, in Moi International Airport? I stood here and asked whether the CS is following up on the conversation that I started on this floor, where only 2 airlines were allowed to land in Moi International Airport, because we have more international airports that are taking tourism to Zanzibar and to Dar es Salaam, making us as Kenya and coast region lose a lot of tourists.
Thank you,
Why
Miraj.
is Boni Halwale?
Thank you, Senator Miraj. Thank you, Senator Miraj. Honorable Senator Boni Halwale, it would not be in order to assume that Senator Miraj does not know about the flights that land in her home county, and she uses the airport. So let's go to the next senator so that the Honorable CS can respond to this question. Senator Koril Chepkoech Joyce.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Allow me to congratulate the CS for the wonderful job that she's doing within the ministry. And on that matter, Honorable Speaker, allow me to really touch on the issue that she has given room to the Kenyans to mark the World Tourism Day by giving them free access to all national parks. So I just want to say congratulations, and we are looking up to seeing a lot of changes in that sector. Thank you.
Senator Mudhama Agnes Kavindu. Senator Agnes, I thought you had asked a question to the same CS. Had you asked a question?
Yes, I did.
Then resume your seat, Senator, so we give others a chance. You cannot ask a second one before they also go round, the first round. Please resume your seat. Senator Oburu Oginga.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to congratulate Madam for the good job she's doing and ask 2 questions. Or you just want me to ask one?
To ask only one, please.
One, okay. Madam Speaker, I think Mombasa is already oversaturated with tourism investment. That's where we all go. We all want to go to Mombasa, want to take my family to Mombasa. But there is too much tourism potential in the western part of Kenya. And I would like Madam to tell me, there are roads. There is a road, a ring road, which was to go around Lake Victoria. And there was supposed to be investment. It was designed, it was costed, it was, I don't know whether it was tendered. But that was meant to open up tourism potential in that area. And the other infrastructure is the golfing, which is also very attractive. We have in Nandi, Kisumu, Kericho, Kisii, and Kisumu. And I would like to know whether they are also taking interest in sporting, so that as part of tourism. Well, Madam Speaker, I'm sorry I asked 2, so it's okay. Madam Speaker, that's what I want you to change your direction of investment to the Western circuit. That's what Honorable Halwale was saying. Because Honorable Kech asked about the islands, about Lake Victoria, but he tells me that you did not quite stress anything about say anything about Lake Victoria. But this is a very, very high potential area for tourism. And it is time that we started directing our investments towards the west, where there is great tourism potential, including wildlife, including the lake sporting, and Madam Speaker, there is a lot of potential in the islands, particularly Mageta, and those other islands, Takawiri, and all those, the Mfangano. There are a lot of tourism potential in those areas. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable CS, you can respond to that before we take another round of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The comments by Honorable Kalwale are taken, and also by Honorable Koech and Miraj. We take all those comments. Honorable Speaker, the last question.
Senator Alwale, Honorable CS is responding to your question. Yes. Proceed, Honorable CS.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, that was a comment which we took note of, but to assure that the strategy we are implementing, the tourism strategy, is firmly anchored on Vision 2030. Honorable Speaker, the last question by Honorable Oburu was on diversification of tourism products and tourism destinations. That's why we are happy that this week the World Tourism Week is being celebrated in the Western region, and specifically Kisumu. We've had a lot of activities since Monday. We have seen visits to Ndere Islands, the Kajulu Hills, and the climax will be on Friday, when we shall be launching the Western Circuit. And I want to assure the honorable member that we are really focusing on diversification of the products and tourism destinations that we have. We are cognizant that infrastructure is an enabler to tourism, working closely with the Ministry of Roads for the roads and the circuits that will provide access to the tourism places. And also, sports tourism is a niche market for Kenya, and we shall be working closely with the Ministry of Sports so that we can take full advantage of that sector of sports tourism. But we are doing a lot of work to ensure that Kenya has a sustainable tourism industry. And just like the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza government says, that tourism is critical to the economy of this country, Kenya is still punching a little below its weight, and that goes a long way to describe the work that is ahead of us. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Chute Mohammed Said.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our CS. I know she is among the 5 best CSs in this country, if not the #1. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Director General, KWS, who is here today. Honorable Speaker, the recent employment recruitment by KWS was the best recruitment ever. You are aware, these days, if you are recruited by KDF or police service, you pay something kidogo. But recruitment in Marsabit was done above board. Let me say thank you very much for that. Honorable Speaker, there is an issue in Marsabit about claims. There is an old man called Boru Fakansa who lost property In this case, is with KWS. I want the CS to follow that case up, and if possible, these people should be paid. We have got millions of money that's supposed to be paid to Marsabit, for people in Marsabit. It has not been paid. If you go to KWS, they will tell you this money is with the finance, treasury. If you ask treasury, they say it has not come to us. So I want the CS to tell us what is happening or what is not happening between the treasury and KWS. Thank you very much.
Senator Onyonka Richard Momoima.
Thank you. Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Madam Speaker, thank you very much. CS, I first of all want to say that I'm happy to see you. I'm also happy that I've listened to you carefully and I've listened you answer the questions intelligently and professionally. Keep it up. I wanted to say that the responsibility of you making sure that Kenya keeps maintaining the name of being a tourist destination is up to you. But I would like to persuade you, as you are in the cabinet, because tourism does not exist in outer space. It exists in an environment where the public or whoever that is coming to tour in your country, they want to come and find a country that is peaceful, a country that is offering basically services that are valuable, services that are quantifiable, and experiences that are magic. But with the number of corruption scandals and the noises we are having in our country, I don't think many tourists will want to come to this country. So I would like to ask you, Madam CS, that I hope that when you're in your cabinet meetings, you will talk to the president. Tell him we respect him. Tell him we want him to govern our country peacefully. Tell him that he must make sure there is no corruption in tourism.
Senator Onyonka,
Madam Chair.
what is the question?
The question is,
because you have started a different trajectory.
I was preparing my ground, but because you have guided me, I will say,
as the question directs.
Madam CS, do you intend to introduce any route, touristic route, coming out from other than the Mara, other than people going to, like I've had, the obvious touristic areas? Are you intending to create certain routes or certain events and certain marketing strategies to make sure that tourism goes up to Nandi County, tourism goes up to Kisii, we go to Trans Nzoia, and all the other areas where tourists normally don't go? And what is it that you would want your ministry to suggest that can be done around the lakeside area, particularly Kisumu, Homa Bay, and the Migori County governments? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chararike Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine to the CS will be very simple. One is that Rift Valley counties like Anbot, Kericho, Kisumu, Nandi, Bomet, Kisii, Nyamira, we are the home of sports. What is the strategy of the ministry, through you, Madam Speaker, and to the CS, on enhancing sport tourism? Because we have legends of sports like Eliud Kipchoge, Faith the Maestro, of course, Faith Kipyegon, Amos Kipruto, among others, who, when people from across the world would want to visit, is their way of enhancing sports tourism by establishing maybe sports tourism centers and areas, so that when tourists visit, they can also, because Kenya is known as a home of athletics and other sports, what is the strategy of ensuring? And in conclusion, Chair, you tied up with that question, in sports tourism, this Western circuit, it is one question, Madam Speaker. This Western circuit.
I'm about to ask why you're asking two questions.
It is co-joined like CMS twins, Madam Speaker. It is co-joined like, in this Western circuit, alongside my colleagues, we have huge potential tourism, apart from sports and even animals like Ingwal Swamp in Chesumei sub-county. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kip Korir William Cheptumo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to join my colleagues in thanking the CS for articulating the issues before this House. Madam Speaker, there has been a serious problem in the country about the conflict between the wildlife and the Kenyan people, especially in the game reserves, in the national reserves, and so on. Madam Speaker, in Baringo County, we have a game reserve called Kapnorak. And I'm happy the director, KWS, has been there before. And this has caused a lot of conflict, Madam Speaker. When the former CS came here, I raised the same issue, and he was not able to give satisfactory answer. Madam CS, is there a way, not only in Baringo, but across the country, where you have MOUs between the residents of the area where the game reserves are and the KWS institution, so that then there is some understanding? Because the residents in those areas, their livelihood is livestock, and sometimes they need some grazing, areas, especially at a time when there's no rain. So I wanted CS to really, and I'm happy the director is here. What arrangements do you have to ensure that you reduce the conflict between the people of Kapnorak area, where the Kapnorak Game Reserve is established, and the KWS, so that we minimize the loss of the people around there, because livestock is their only livelihood?
Honorable CS, you can respond to those questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and members. I commit to follow up the case of compensation for Marsabit and get the finer details. But I want to say that human-wildlife conflict and the compensation, since I joined the ministry, is a daily conversation that is being given the importance it deserves. My principal secretary, not a day ends without having a discussion on compensation, human-wildlife conflict, the competition for resources, what we need to do for communities. I want to assure, as we go on with the work that we have been given, we are giving that the highest priority. In regard to diversification of tourism destinations and the products that we have, we are launching the Western Circuit on Friday, but in total we have 9 identified circuits covering all the regions of Kenya, so that we can unveil and promote the products each area has, each county has, so that we have sustainable tourism, and we have many more products that tourists can enjoy. The question by honorable member from Nandi County. Yes, sports tourism is an important pillar in the strategy that we are implementing. Quite a lot of activities are lined up and others have taken place. For example, the athletes, the great athletes we have in Kenya will be the tourism ambassadors, sports tourism ambassadors. We know that plans for Iten Training Institute to also have foreign athletes going to Iten, and partnering with the Ministry of Sports so that under the Magical Kenya, every sports event can have a tourism angle. But for now is to confirm that it is a strategic pillar in the strategy we are implementing. In regard to the question asked by the honorable member from Baringo, we have several MOUs that have been signed between KWS and county governments. And we have one between, that is between the county governments and KWS on behalf of the people of that county. And a lot of activity is being done between the counties and KWS, and I look forward to working with the leaders. We do know that this human-wildlife conflict is basically caused by competition for resources, and especially water, pastures. There is a lot of lack of water, adequate water to cover both human and wildlife. And we want to put a lot of focus on the provision of water so that humans can have enough water and animals can have water to reduce the competition. And Honorable Speaker, like I have affirmed, human-wildlife conflict is highest in our priority and even in our agenda. It is an item that we are reporting to the highest level, even at the cabinet meetings. And in days to come, we do hope that with the operationalization of county wildlife compensation committees, and with our resolve to look for diversified resource mobilization ways, we will be able to tackle the pending compensations and going forward reducing the conflicts so that we can have more coexistence rather than the conflicts. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Eric Okongo Mogeni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the CS for the good work she has embarked on in enhancing the tourism sector in our country. Now, Madam Speaker, in this aspect of diversifying, when you travel to other countries, Madam Speaker, you land their city, you will find that the government has put in place arrangements where you get open buses that take tourists around some key tourist attraction areas. And these guys contribute to the income of the country because you pay. It's not for free. Madam Speaker, for us, the buses can take the tourists to Limuru. They look at our beautiful tea farms. They understand where the famed Kenya tea comes from. They can be taken around to see what is happening at National Park and many other areas. But I don't see this happening, and that requires government support. What steps, Madam Speaker, will the ministry put in place so that we can also tap into that market the way other countries have done? I know, Mr. Speaker, if you have traveled, you go to London, you get these buses. You go to Barcelona, you get these buses. Why can't you also do the same as a country? Number two, in making other counties, because now we have 47 governments across the country. Other regions, like where I come from in Kisii, as the government put in place marketing strategies so that when these tourists come to Kenya, they can be told the other areas where you will see things you will not see anywhere in the world. The soapstone in Kisii is only found in Kisii. People export those, the whatever, the art crafts that are made in Kisii to foreign countries, and they are sold at a kill. As the government put in place any marketing strategies so that when tourists come, they also know that they can visit other regions like Kisii, like Nyamira, so that we have income on tourism spread across the country, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Agnes, I'll give you a chance because I had called you earlier, but otherwise the questions being asked is just one to a respective CS in a session.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I have too many issues in Machakos, and I would want to put in knowledge of Madam Speaker that even the CS who has left the ministry was aware of how my people in Machakos, especially Masinga Count, suffers when they want to go to Masinga from Modesia Ndivini Ekalakala ward. They have to pass through Muranga, they go through Thika, Kiambu, come back to Machakos County if they want to cross in a dignified way by road. And I've been requesting if a ferry can be put between Ekarakara and Ndivini, Isiukoni, Yambukoni, where they cross by just temporary boats, and that is where they are killed by hippos and crocodiles a lot, and they cross in a very undignified manner. And the outgoing for CS had promised that they will look for funds and put a ferry there. Because there's a big issue. Madam CS, what are you planning to do about that? Thank you.
Senator Adandulo Fatuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to request the CS if I may say that I have about 3 game reserves in my county and 1 Meru Park that is neighboring my county. But Madam Speaker, if you look at maybe now devolution and before devolution, the standard of those reserves and parks have really gone down. More specifically, the reserves are under the county governments. They are the ones actually who are supposed to take care of those game reserves. But unfortunately, the standard has really gone down completely, because you will find in most of the counties don't have capacity, and sometimes they don't even employ those who are real professionals to man those reserves. My question is, CS, do you have a working mechanisms between yourselves and the counties? And number 2, I believe the standard should be left with the ministry so that they can be able to keep the standard and the government doesn't lose revenue that is generated from the tourists. I thank you.
Honorable CS, please respond to those final round of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll start with a question by Honorable Mugeni, basically about urban tourism and the buses, the tour buses, and other products that are available, especially in large cities. And this is really gaining global traction. As a ministry, we are working on some processes and some working closely and encouraging the private sector to participate, and especially in the transport sector. In those countries, most of these buses have a lot of input from the private sector, and this is the private partnership. And Nairobi has a lot to offer, and even in the counties. And we do hope that resources permitting, and in partnership with the private sector, this can be a dream come true. We have also seen that tourists who go to cities have certain minimum expectations: good tours, good museums, good nightlife, and quite a lot that a city can offer. I want to assure you that that is in our radar. We need a lot of aggressive marketing in Kenya, even for the counties, and like you have mentioned, specifically the soapstone. I recently met an entrepreneur, a young man, who is doing quite a lot in that field, but on the investment side, when I was in the docket for investment. But it's then a linkage to make it a tourism product. That's why we are concentrating on diversifying, working with counties to have more products. There is a lot that Kenya has that is not known domestically and internationally. As we finalize the tourism week in our celebration on Friday, we are also launching a product for the young people to participate in photography and showcase some of those niche and gem products that are available in the counties. And we do hope to have a very good repository of that, as we even give an opportunity for our young people to have their talent and make it into a competition. In regard to the question by the honorable member from Machakos, the issue of the ferry had not come to my attention, but now
Senator
that
Kavin,
it has come
responding to that
to
question
my
Machakos.
attention, I will take it up together with the Ministry of Transport, get the finer details, and probably what can be done about that. The question by the honorable member from Isiolo, it is true that national parks are managed by Kenya Wildlife Service, while game reserves are under the ambit of county governments. We have seen a lot of challenges in management of the game reserves that counties face or are faced by counties: technical capacity, human resources, and other challenges. And we are having a working mechanism with the counties on national reserves, but specifically for Isiolo County, the ministry through the KWS has deployed a senior warden to support the management of Bisindai National Reserve, and KWS has a company, a station there in Isiolo complex to support the security and the activities and the issues that arise from the game reserve. Of course, a lot can be done in collaboration with the counties, and KWS will take up that issue so that we strengthen the collaboration between the counties and KWS to the benefit and security of the people, and also the management and conservation of the wildlife that exists in the game reserves. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable CS, for responding to those questions from the senators. I would guide that the question asked by Senator Agnes Mudhama is very specific. If you could put it down in paper together with Senator Chute, it was also equally very specific. that should assist the CS to respond specifically to the issues, the critical issues that you have raised for the respective counties. So you can turn them in to the clerk so that they can be handled by the CS in a good manner, and they can bring formal answers for those questions. So I want to discharge the Honorable CS after that long session and responding to all the questions you have responded. Thank you very much, and now you are ready and free to leave. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, report of the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Accra, Ghana from 30th September to 6th October 2023. Resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 24th July 2024, morning sitting.
Honorable Senators, we are resuming debate on this motion, and now I call upon Senator Cherardi Samson Kiprotich to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to commend Senator Professor Margaret Kamar for bringing this motion on the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Madam Speaker, this is a very important association because it allows parliamentarians across the globe and our staff, the Secretariat, to exchange the best practices of the presidents and development of parliaments across the world, especially in the African setup. Madam Speaker, as Kenya, we are proud to have, although an hybrid system of both presidential and parliamentary system, Madam Speaker, and therefore it is important as African nations that we system.
Order number 8, motion, report of the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Accra, Ghana from 30th September to 6th October 2023. Resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 24th July 2024, morning sitting.
Honorable Senators, we are resuming debate on this motion, and now I call upon Senator Cherardi Samson Kiprotich to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to commend Senator Professor Margaret Kamar for bringing this motion on the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Madam Speaker, this is a very important association because it allows parliamentarians across the globe and our staff, the Secretariat, to exchange the best practices of the presidents and development of parliaments across the world, especially in the African setup. Madam Speaker, as Kenya, we are proud to have, although an hybrid system of both presidential and parliamentary system, Madam Speaker, and therefore it is important as African nations that we always come together to ensure we exchange best practices in legislative intervention, in legislative programming, and even managing of the sessions of the houses, both plenary and parliamentary and committee level, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I commend the team and a number of members of parliament who are part of it. Madam Speaker, we are in the era as the chairperson of the Parliamentary Caucus on Open Governance Program, OGP. Madam Speaker, we are in an era of legislative openness and legislative integrity, where public participation under Article 118 of parliamentary processes in Kenya, public participation is forming an integral part, both in Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya. So as the Senate Caucus and the Parliamentary Caucus Chair of Parliamentary Open Governance, and I'm happy, Madam Speaker, you attended the session where His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto, came and launched the 5th Action Plan of Open Governance Program. And we are moving now, apart from the issues at the executive and judiciary, we are now moving to legislative integrity, openness, and public participation in terms of legislative program, Madam Speaker. And I want to ask Senator Professor Kamar and the team here in Parliament that let us also, because this OGP, the Open Governance Program, let us encourage other government nations and parliaments of Kenya and across the world, even the ones, Holla, East Africa Legislative Assembly, and other regional parliamentary groups. We can borrow from European Union Parliamentary Group, and of course, Westminster style of parliament that we normally have, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of importance, and that has captured my attention, is the relocation of the CPA to headquarters to Africa. I think, Madam Speaker, we are looking to the future where Africa will become a very integral part of the process of going into the future, Madam Speaker. And we hope, Madam Speaker, the legislative intervention, because in Nigeria, where we have federal form of government or federal assembly, legislative assembly, here in Kenya we have county assemblies, Madam Speaker. We need to cascade down the best practices and exchange, because the National Assembly or National Parliament reflects the county assemblies that we have, Madam Speaker, so that we reduce and ensure the county assemblies operate. And I remember, Madam Speaker, on the issue of county assemblies in Kenya, we have tried to ensure they work, maybe by ensuring the SRC review the MCS, personal welfare, and even giving them ward development fund, giving them financial autonomy to allow them to do the oversight without the political patronage of individual governors and county governors across the nation. Madam Speaker, and therefore I agree that we need to host the association headquarters and change it from charitable body, Madam Speaker, to interparliamentary organ, so that we can anchor in our own processes within that we have as a house, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the third point I want to make in quick succession is on the issue of food security that was captured in Ghana. I think where we are going as a nation, Madam Speaker, almost 80% of any family's budget, even here in Nairobi, across the country, across the world, normally goes to food. And therefore, we must be ready. I come from a farming community, Madam Speaker. I want to say, for example, as we plant tea, sugar, coffee, just the region you come from, maize, Madam Speaker, milk processing and milk production, Madam Speaker. Although some of us are not happy with the tea bonuses that we got the other day, I know where you come from, you are getting between 57 shillings to 61 shillings. In the Rift Valley, Kericho, Bomet, Nandi, Kisii, Nyamira, Vihiga, Mount Bungoma, we were getting between 15 shillings to 25 shillings. Yet we are being told what is the reason. There is difference, a huge difference between tea bonuses that come to our region, Madam Speaker. So on the issue of food security is very critical, is very important, Madam Speaker. Even I want to ask the Parliament of Kenya, and I want to challenge the National Assembly, because I saw their majority leaders speaking other things that are not of importance in this country. That as we talk today, Madam Speaker, the coffee bill is lying in the National Assembly. As we talk today, Madam Speaker, the Mang bill is lying in the National Assembly. The bill that is sponsored by yours truly, the anti-stock theft livestock produce and product bill, is lying in the National Assembly. Even the amendments to various, to guarantee minimum returns legislations is lying to the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, therefore I want to challenge even our county assemblies. Let us be honest, if we want to do food security, Madam Speaker, let us fast track the bills, Madam Speaker, that belong to farmers. As I speak today, many bills of the Senate that would have assisted, because agriculture is devolved, Madam Speaker, under the fourth schedule. Most of our bills that belong to the agriculture sector, including your county where you and Senator Newton come from, the Muranga County, are majority farmers. But National Assembly have become a graveyard, Madam Speaker, of our bills, especially the agricultural bills, that because, of course, their leadership is busy with other things. I want to call upon them, Madam Speaker, to fast-track those bills, so that we don't need, I saw them crying over CDF. In fact, my proposal, Madam Speaker, because you are a senior lawyer in this republic, CDF will and shall remain unconstitutional into the future. I saw they saying, oh, you know, if you remove CDF, Madam Speaker, you know, there will be no bursary. The conversation in the country today, Madam Speaker, is simple. Can you amalgamate or bring together all the bursary from GAF, from CDF, from county governments, from Ministry of Education, bring them into one pot? Let us not subject our children to tokenism, where if you don't know a member of parliament, you don't know a women rep, you don't know a PS, you don't know a governor, your child cannot get bursary. Let us put into one basket, send it to school. Let every Kenyan child, from Muranga to Nandi, to Uasin Gishu, to Mandera, to Moyale, to Kisumu, Just walk into a learning institutions and learn without worrying. Let us make it the education to be free. And I'm happy, as I say it with passion, my chairperson of Education Committee in the Senate is listening to this. I hope the Education Committee, I know Senator Professor Kamara is also a member, sit and give us a proposal to amalgamate all the tuition that comes into this. So on the issue of food security, I want to challenge county assemblies, Madam Speaker. Even as we go into the future, let us, we saw there was a subsidy program on fertilizer, Madam Speaker, going into the future, Madam Speaker. Even our counties should know. You saw, Madam Speaker, my county assembly of Nandi yesterday, and I've been telling them that they need to process bills that assist farming and food security. You saw the people of Nandi went to Nandi County Assembly to demand the impeachment of the governor of Nandi because of lack of policies to spur agriculture sector in this republic, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the people of Nandi for maintaining peace and peacefully going to greet the MCS. Although, Madam Speaker, they went ahead and passed an ad hoc committee instead of passing an impeachment proceeding bill. Madam Speaker, we have given our MCS from Nandi 14 days to process an impeachment proceedings against Governor Sang, bring it to the floor of the Senate. I can assure you, because as we don't condone corruption, we don't condone bad governance or underdevelopment, we shut up all the impeachment charges led by yours truly, Madam Speaker. And that is very critical. So my advice to the MCAs, they did the wrong thing yesterday, Madam Speaker, by passing an ad hoc instead of initiating an impeachment proceedings. Madam Speaker, finally, I want to ask our EACC and DCI, even as we investigate the issue of fake fertilizer in the country, Madam Speaker, in the issue of fraud by payrolls, Madam Speaker, where even my governor decided to hire the mother and siblings in the unpolitical masseuse and political solace, Madam Speaker, in the payroll of Nandi, I was shocked by the statement of Nandi CCIO by the name called Peter Ochieng Okola, by saying that in their investigations, even the investigations are still ongoing, in their investigations, Madam Speaker, the CCIO of Nandi, Mr. Peter Ogola, is telling the county, Madam Speaker, that the conclusions, the investigations are concluded, and the governor was not aware. Yet he is not telling the county, Madam Speaker, whether the governor has written a statement on the matter. We cannot be selling justice to the highest bidder, Madam Speaker. And I'm calling the National Police Service Commission Internal Affairs Unit to investigate the CCIO Nandi Peter Ogola, Madam Speaker, for allegations of being compromised by governor, to come up with a conclusion, Madam Speaker, to say he was not involved. Madam Speaker, ordinarily, if my brother is hired somewhere, I should know. If my mother is hired somewhere, I should know. Why is it that the CCIO is telling the county, Madam Speaker, that he is not aware or the investigations are complete? Madam Speaker, I have requested, and I have talked to DCI Ahmed Amin, Madam Speaker, the DCI of the Republic of Kenya, for the national DCI to take over the investigations into manipulation and allegations of fraud to Nandi County payroll, so that we know the truth, Madam Speaker. We don't, Madam Speaker, as a country, we are tired with professional sanitizers who sanitize people, Madam Speaker, and we will fail as a country. If corruption allegations happens, we go for the small fish, yet we leave the sharks. That is why, Madam Speaker, the Gen Z revolution happened. Because the only way to reward impunity, Madam Speaker, is to go for the small people in the fight against corruption and leave the big people. There were those, Madam Speaker. And if you read by Kitongo, it is our turn to eat, Madam Speaker. If you read that book, and I know you have read the way you are nodding, Madam Speaker, the biggest problem in the fight against in our country, our counties, our African continent, as Senator Kamar, you should take this to the African parliamentary continent, is the corruption that thrives from the county governments, national government, across the nations, Madam Speaker. So I want to challenge the CPA, this parliamentary association, to come together and assist parliaments across Africa, Madam Speaker, to come up with legislative policy intervention in the fight against bad governance, grand corruption, Madam Speaker, so that we are not, Madam Speaker, and you remember your colleague speaker in the National Assembly, I saw it in the NTV the other day, the Speaker of National Assembly saying, there is no human that is incoherently dishonest. The circumstance changes before money and power. And he was aptly describing our counties, Madam Speaker, and the governments of Africa. Because everybody is honest until they are before power or before money. And therefore, as a parliament, Madam Speaker, the CPA Association, and I want to challenge Senator Professor Kamar, Madam Speaker, as I leave that issue of Nandi, that we must, as a house, Madam Speaker, I know as a senator, whenever you work in weekends and you have the SG Emeritus of UDA, whenever you go everywhere, people will ask you, Muranga, why are you sending money to counties and we don't see the value? As we talk, Madam Speaker, counties spend close to 17 billion in crop toting, foreign travels and local travels. For example, Nandi spent over 310 million Kenya shillings in the financial year 2023-2024, Madam Speaker, in crop trotting. And one of the visits that Governor Sang did was to visit Jerusalem, Madam Speaker, where Jesus was born. All of us are Christians. Jesus should be born in our hearts, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker,
when we resume, you will have 2 minutes to conclude your debate. Honorable Senators, it's now 1 p.m., time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until later today.